I recently discovered three things as a man in my 40s I needed, and I didn't know I needed. And I hope in this video you realize, or this podcast, that you realize how much you may need these things. And if you're willing to have the courage to go out and get these things, or do these things, or be these things. And first of all, I just want to say I am just deeply thankful for this beautiful sun that is shining on me right now in good old South Carolina. I love this weather. Anyway, the first one I didn't realize I needed, and it's kind of weird to say because I know there's so much judgment around interactions, but I'm going to say it. I realized how much I needed or appreciated a hug from another male. Yes, a hug from another male. Now, if you think about it, when is the last time that you, as a man, got a hug that wasn't something sexual or it wasn't tied to a performance? Think about that for a moment. It's probably pretty rare. When I used to live in Seattle, I had a barber who every time I came to his shop, either once I got there or before I left, we would always hug. All right, bro, I'll see you later. When I moved to the South, that was kind of like a one off thing. And I had one other friend too. Shout out to my boy Dane. He was also a hugger. But besides those two, I didn't really see that a lot with my male friends. And it just could have been something we didn't think about or I didn't think about. But when I moved to the South, I started having more of those interactions with men. And it would be something that, hey, it was just like a hug to say, bro, I'm happy to see you. And I didn't know why that felt good. And I thought about it recently, and that's when I came to the fact that it it's a hug just for me being me. Just a hug for wanting to see me or happy to see me. Not happy because I did something for them. Not happy because they're interested in me on some sexual level. It's just, hey, I see you, bro. And I did some research on this and I was like, what is the power of a hug? And it turns out that when we get a hug, it releases oxytocin, oxytocin, sorry, it which reduces stress and deepens relationships. It says it creates trust, bonding, and an emotional connection. All that from a hug. But wait, there's more. It also releases dopamine. It gives you that little feel good boost, a little uplift. And if that wasn't enough, I mean, those two things are amazing. It releases serotonin, which helps with our happiness and emotional stability. And last but not least, it produces endorphins, the body's natural painkiller. It's released during touch. So that can help reduce our physical and emotional pain. All that from just a hug. Now, for me, this is amazing. But I know it's something that we don't generally do as men because, hey, we're macho and blah, blah, blah. But I want you to consider, man, how just giving, and this is the beauty of it, you can give or receive a hug and get all these benefits. You don't always got to be the receiver. So this week, I'm going to challenge you to go out and give someone a hug because it not only benefits them, it benefits you. So just think about that. The next thing that I've thought about is this question of value, because so many of us men believe that our value is only tied to what we do. And if things aren't going right at that moment, then we feel like we have no value. And that's when we slip into depression. That's when we start acting out, you know, sexually, trying to prove ourselves that we still got it, or we start taking penitentiary chances just to get that, we just to get that feeling of value. Or we turn to another thing, anger. We start releasing our anger on everybody around us. And I found myself just angry at other people and angry at myself because I just couldn't see the value in myself. And it was such a thing I didn't know what to do about it. But then recently I had this realization. And the realization it came to when I started thinking about a diamond. I want you to think about a diamond. If I called you right now and said, "Hey, bro, I'm about to drop off a diamond to your house," and you're gonna, but if you want it, the chances of you saying no, you don't want it, are probably zero. Especially if I tell you it's not stolen. It's just I just want to give you a diamond. You're gonna tell me yes. Why? Because you know intrinsically that a diamond has value. We all know that. But what's crazy is it takes one, and I want to make sure I say this right, 1 in 1 million parts of the kilamine, kilo, kimberlite rock. 1 in 1 million parts of a kimberlite rock contain a diamond. And it's formed 90 miles underground. The pressure forms it 90 miles underground. And 1 in every billion carbines atoms contain, okay, 1 in every billion carbine atoms transform into this gem. So basically 1 in every billion, right? But with us as men, us as humans, there was a 1 in 400 trillion chance that we would be born. I want you to think about how all the things that happened had to happen for you to be born. Your ancestors had to be born. Your great great grandparents, your grandparents, your mama and daddy had to be born. They had to meet on a particular day. They had to have intercourse at that particular time. The sperm, which is 1 in 100 million, that one sperm out of 100 million had to attach to her egg, and the whole process began. And then you had to survive the pregnancy. You had to not only survive the pregnancy, your mother had to make the decision that she is going to take care of you to make sure you survive. All these things had to happen for you to be here and for me to be here. And here I was thinking that I didn't have any value because I hadn't accomplished what I thought I should have accomplished by now. When the reality is, there is a 1 in 400 trillion chance that I would that just be born, not do anything, but just be born. So to sit around and acting like I don't have any value when I am more rare than any diamond that's ever been produced on this earth is absolutely crazy. And for you, you may not be exactly where you want to be or thought you would be at this point in your 40s in your life. But the fact that you are here, the fact that you were born, just proves how rare you are. And if you would value a diamond, there is no reason you should not value yourself. And that is something I learned, in my 40s, man. I, I'm telling you, I struggled with that value thing for a long time because I just thought, hey, I'm 40 something. I remember I read in a book. It was by Nassim. I can't think of his last name, but he said something, and it was like it said if you haven't accomplished a certain amount of something by the time you're 40, you shouldn't even listen to that person. And I was like in the I'm gonna find the exact quote, but I read that quote and I was like, God, Lee, man, that was tough because we have these things of what we feel like we should have accomplished, should have done, all these things, man. And sometimes we don't live up to those expectations right at that point. But the fact is, we're still alive, we're still here, and we still can. But that crap hurt. That crap hurt. Uh, anyway, so the last one that I realized I needed but didn't know I needed, um, was to understand the value of questions. Anybody can give an answer, but not everybody can ask the right questions. And what's required most of the time is the right questions. I've had situations lately where my gut would say, "Why me?" I mean, just so many situations. One of the situations is on my taxes. I've been waiting on my taxes for a minute, and they keep getting delay after delay after delay. And I'm like, "Why me?" That was my original question, and then it changed from that being my question to what can I do to make sure I am never in a situation again to where it matters if my taxes are delayed or not? Or in a situation where I don't even get a refund, I got to figure out how to minimize my taxes so I can cut down on what I have to pay. That was my question to myself. Because when we start to ask better questions, we can get better answers to the situations in our life. At one point, I was arguing with my wife all the time. And then I had to ask myself a question. What am I getting out of arguing with her all the time? And the answer was I got to not focus on what I actually should be doing. I just felt like I'm doing something else that takes away from what I'm doing. And it was easier to do that than to actually do what I was doing. So I found value in arguing by doing that, which is, you know, crazy. I hate to say it out loud, but it was true. And then I had to start asking myself different questions like, what is really stopping me? What is stopping me from doing YouTube more consistently? What is stopping me from sharing what I believe? What is stopping me from living out what I believe? Until I started asking myself better questions, I could not get better answers. And when we take the time to ask ourselves questions, that's when we can break down the walls that trap most of us men in our 40s stuck in the same place we've been. So that is my question to you. What is keeping you trapped? What is what is the question that you're afraid to ask yourself? What is the thing that you know you should be doing that you're running from right now? Man, I've had to ask myself all those questions lately. And some of the answers I didn't like. But once we face ourselves and start asking ourselves better questions, we can make changes. That's why I think journaling is so powerful because you're asking questions, you're asking yourself questions, and then you're answering them. That feedback loop is beautiful because we're not just answering questions. Because we're doing the first part, which is thinking about the question we should ask, and then thinking about the answer and writing it out. Because thinking, as they say, is the hardest work most of us never want to do, me included. But I hope this was helpful for you just to think about. I'm going to recap it. Man, go out there and hug your bro. And if you don't have a bro to hug, find someone, be the light, as they say. And remember, you're going to get all these benefits from it. We're going to get this oxytocin, the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins, all that's going to be released by you just giving a hug. And remember, you have value. It was a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you would be here. So you're rare, you're more rare than any diamond on this earth. So you need to start seeing yourself as that rare person. And if you believe that you were this rare, what would you do? What would you create? What would you become if you saw yourself as that person? And the third thing is questions. Questions help us create access to who we really are supposed to be. Questions help us go deeper. Think about your friendships. How you really connect with somebody is by asking them questions instead of just answering. Questions create connection. Connection in relationships, friendships. Man, how did that make you feel? When you allow somebody else, when you ask a question and you allow that person to share their feelings, you're creating space, you're creating empathy, you're sharing, you're allowing for a connection between the two of you. And asking questions is how you resolve situations that you may be going through. It's questions, baby, questions. So for you today, what question do you need to ask yourself? Would go grab a mirror, look in that mirror, and say, I have value. And the last, remember, you, yes, you need to go hug someone. You are enough. You got it.